What's going on, YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and we're back with another quick breakdown. Jaron Boots Ennis is going to be defending his welterweight IBF title against Karen Chukhadzhian. All right, this is going to be the rematch from earlier last year, where it was a pretty much a snooze fest because Karen did a lot of moving, didn't really engage with Boots that much in the first fight, and this was probably the first fight that Boots was involved in where he was highly criticized. Okay, so this fight is happening again. The IBF mandated the fight after Jaron Ennis went the distance to him and beat him. Corinne had three more fights, all right, against lower opposition, two knockouts, two fights last year, one this year, and now they're having a rematch. Okay, I know no one really asked for it. There's a lot of other fights that we want, but this is what we're getting this Saturday. It's going to be on dazn Saturday, November 9th. And I should be here to live to cover the fight. You know, got Jesse Bam Rodriguez is also fighting on the undercard as well. So I will be here this Saturday to cover this fight live. All right. I'm not going to Philly to see this one. I went to Philly to see the last one, but I'm not gonna go to see this one. All right. But so let's talk a little bit about these two. Now, Jaron Ennis, he's 27 years old now. Okay, he had a couple fights after beating Corinne the last time, and he became champion. He got elevated as the IBF champion after Terrence Crawford beat Spence, and then eventually moved up to 154. You know, the titles became vacated, and Boots was the mandatory immediately after Bud beat Spence and moved up. So Boots went on to beat Roman Villa. Okay, that was his first fight after beating Corinne. He beats Villa. Villa is the guy that beat Rashidi Ellis. All right, good fight, by the way. That was a really, really good fight. So he beats Villa, stops him. All right, and then earlier this year he goes and fight David Avanesian. All right, out in Philly, and he stops him in 5 rounds. Okay, so he was trying, at least his team was trying to make a fight with Brian Norman Jr., who's a champion now. Um, I don't know. I think they might have reached out to Imata Stanionis and maybe Mario Barrios, who are the other champions at the division right now, and nothing was able to happen. All right. Bud, Bud's name is always going to come out when it comes to Boots. Bud is up there at 154 doing his thing, trying to get his Canelo fight. So Jaron Ennis, even though he's with Eddie, and I think Eddie's doing a great job in promoting him, it's gonna be very difficult to make those other fights. Being that he's a matchroom fighter, and um, you know, we still have promoter politics going on, especially when Turkey Al Sheik is not involved. And if you're not on a Riyadh season type of fight, I feel like a lot of these promoters are still playing by the old rules, where they're trying to keep everything in house. Stanionis and Mario Barrios are both PBC fighters. Ennis was a Showtime fighter at one point, but he's with Eddie and Matchroom now, and Brian Norman Jr. is with Top Rank. All right, so we got all the mess going on with that, and to be honest, I feel like most of the big names at this point at 135 or at 135 and 140, and then you got 154. 147 is just not what it was a few years ago when you had Bud and Spence, Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. There was a lot of big names there at one point. It's just not the same right now, and if Eddie can't get Boots in there, probably with one of these guys, um, like Mario Barrios or Stanionis. I mean, do you even really stay at the division at this point? You know what I mean? Like, if you can't get those fights like quickly, what's the point of staying? Because I know 154 is a much more difficult division, but 147 there's nothing happening. I would say the only other big name, big name at 147 at this point is Conor Ben. And Conor has been fighting at 154, so it's not like that fight can't happen at 154. Both of these guys are matchroom fighters, right? So we're going back to fighting Karen Chukhadzhian, and it's because it's a mandated fight. You got to do what you got to do. and this is one of the issues I have with the sanctioning bodies, because it's like Corinne didn't really fight anyone that stands out. He beat a few guys. Good for him for being active. But these guys are not, that he just recently beat, are not at a top contender level. But he was able to get himself right back in position to fight for a title again, and the first fight wasn't close. I know a lot of people criticize Boots because it was boring and he couldn't stop him, but Corinne moved in the entire fight, and he arguably didn't win any rounds of the fight. Let me go to what the scorecards were. Officially, none of the judges gave him a round, but Boots just couldn't track him down. Corinne's a Ukrainian fighter. I mean, he moves extremely well from what I've seen. I went back and watched the fight, and from what I see in the fight, he didn't have that much of an issue landing. All right. But he couldn't phase Boots at all. Boots didn't really respect his power in the fight. But he moved well. He has decent knockout power. He's stopping other fighters. He has a decent KO ratio. He's 24 wins with 13 losses. But, he's a smaller guy here. He's not as powerful. But from rewatching the fight, he seems to be pretty durable. I wanted to point out certain things that maybe, or to see if I noticed things that he'll do in order to win this rematch. But as far as him winning, it's hard to pick out something a fighter can do when they lose every single round. But he was able to land at times. He landed some good counters. He seemed to be pretty durable. Boots hit him a lot. Boots landed some good shots. So I think this guy moves well, obviously, because he moved the entire 12 rounds without really getting that tired. But he took the punches, man. He got hit. He got hit. Not that much, but he got hit enough. I think he's pretty durable. And he has pretty good conditioning. And I noticed that with Jaron Ennis, when I looked at his older fights, when I think of Sergey Limpinets, for example, he's won. David Avanesian in his recent fight, Roman Villa. When you look at those three names, all right, those are the three names that really stand out in Boots fights. The guys that stood in front of him, traded. Those guys were right in front of him. And Boots was able to land combinations, land at will because they were right there. So even though Corinne took some good shots in their fight, Corinne would take a shot and be right back on the move. You know what I mean? He pot shot it most of the time. He was just move. He'll shoot a straight right and, slip and escape out of there. Sometimes he got caught on his way in. Sometimes he got caught on his way out. But one thing that set him apart from all those other names I just mentioned is that he just didn't get pinned down and he didn't trade with Boots at any point. He stayed moving. He kept moving. Whenever he got hit, he would keep moving. He didn't stand right in front of Boots where Boots was able to throw and land combinations against him. That didn't happen. So, in order for him to win this fight, you have to engage a little bit more. But if he engages a little bit more, that means he may get hit a little bit more. So what do you do here? How does he win? Not really sure. I'm not really sure how he can win the fight here because he was just outgunned so much in the first fight. He did a good job in surviving, but there was no point in that fight where I thought he could actually win. And I think that the only way, and he wants the rematch. He fought his way back in position to get the rematch. So I'm assuming he believes that he can do a little better to win. But doing a little better might cause you to fight. This breakdown is a little bit similar to what I did with Cashapp and O'Shaquie Foster. That's the very last breakdown that I did. And in that fight, which was similar, O'Shaquie, who didn't really run, but didn't really engage, he focused more on countering and not getting hit, but didn't let his hands go enough. And Conceição, who was very aggressive, just missed too much. Corinne made Boots miss, but Boots still landed and did way better than Conceição did against Foster. And Foster, on the other hand, landed with better accuracy than Corinne did and didn't move nearly as much. Now Rematch went down last night and I did see it. Didn't do a recap of the fight. But Foster let his hands go more in that fight. And Conceição let his hands go out even more and it was better, accurate, But the similarities there was that being that Foster engaged a little bit more, he got hit a lot more as opposed to the first fight. And I can kind of see in this fight going the same way, where I think Chukhadzhian is going to engage more. Don't just move and pot shot. Follow it up with something. You land a good shot, throw some combinations. He did at times in the first fight, but again, Boots didn't really respect his power. Not at any point. Boots, on the other hand, what he can do, and I'm assuming he's working on cutting off the ring a little better. Don't follow him around as much. I think when Boots went into a high guard and started to walk him down, I think that's when he started to land a little better and get hit a lot less. Shuk was landing some shots around the guard and stuff, but Boots was very comfortable. He just couldn't really pin him down, and a lot of his best shots that he threw, he missed a lot. Some of them barely missed, barely grazed Corinne. I think if he could really, get some of those shots off that he attempted in the first fight, he can do better and possibly stop him or hurt him or drop him. All right. But what we need from both, I think with Ennis, I think he has his fight in the bag, but I'm assuming he's going to want to get that stoppage because that's not what he got in the last one. And he's the only person that he hasn't stopped in a while. So he's going for the stoppage. And in order to do that, you got to find a way to pin Karen down. Invest in the body a little bit more. All right. He did in the first fight, but invest in it a little bit more. Take a page out of Canelo's book when he fought Lara. Canelo didn't land up top that much. Headhunt a little less. Go to the body. Get this guy to slow down his legs. So I think that's one thing he could do. Hopefully he focused on cutting off the ring. You know what I mean? And when you're coming forward like that, feint a little bit. I was saying this about Conceição for the rematch and the breakdown there. Feint a little bit more. Just change the speed up on the jab. You keep throwing the same jab over and over again, and the guy's easily slipping it. And then you're leading with power shots. You're putting a lot of power on a guy that's really mobile and really slippery. You got to change it up. Make him bite off some of those feints. You know what I mean? And then hit him. You know what I mean? Like, Boots got to do a few things differently in this fight if he wants to get the stoppage. The guy is pretty durable. He has to be pinned down. Corinne, engage a little bit more, throw combinations. Just doesn't have the power to really hurt Boots. But if he wants some kind of respect, he's going to have to throw combinations. And that might lead to him getting knocked out. I have Boots winning. They have him right now plus 600 if he goes to points and win. I think that's a great bet. That's probably the bet I'm going to be taking. All right. But he's too much of a favorite to bet any other way. I don't think Karen has any chance of winning the fight based off the first fight. It's more about whether or not Boots is going to get the stoppage or not. I'm not underestimating Karen's ability to do better in this fight, but to win the fight are two different things. Again, if he engages more, he's gonna get hit more. All right. So anyway, I have Boots. He could get the stoppage, but my money is gonna be on seeing if he can get the points decision. All right, but I could see him getting the stoppage if he improves in certain areas. But I'm gonna put my money on him again because that's where the money is at. All right. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and I'll see you guys on for the next breakdown. Peace.